Welcome to 12 Scholars and this Masterclass series. Our vision is to build an institute for leadership development, where excellence is the mission. And there's three aspects to that. We're inspired by our featured scholars and the lessons that they share. We've developed a framework for excellence that runs through everything that we do. And we've created a leadership path that'll help you in your career development. If you're new to 12 Scholars, where have you been? We're available in digital, audio, and also in print. So welcome to 12 Scholars, and I hope you enjoy this masterclass. So today's about better meetings, and we've got a fairly simple but structured programme we're going to run through. So we'll start with a few facts and figures about your practice and theory. We then get our leadership path, which is all about helping you lead yourself, lead your team, and also help you lead your organisation, where we've got some examples to work through. And then at the end, we've got our progress review, where we'll wrap it all up and then leave you something to do in your own time, and very much it's over to you. As always, this is available not just as a set of slides, but also as a PDF that'll help you with a few more worked examples in there. So, if ever you wanted a car crash of a case study for how not to run meetings, then I urge you to have a look at Handforth Parish Council. On there you'll find all the ingredients for how not to run a meeting. And if you tune in, you'll also find out how to recover those meetings as well. It's quite incredible, and it's exploded here in the UK over the last few weeks. So if you've got 5 minutes, have a look at the opening scenes of Handforth Parish Council, and yeah, hopefully it'll kind of paint a picture for how not to run meetings. So we've got a bit of practice and theory here, where we'll introduce some facts and figures and walk you through the EGSP framework. So yellow slides, this means action. And this one is all about what you enjoy most and what you enjoy least about meetings. So what I'd like you to do, and I'm going to stick 2 minutes on the clock here, I want you to think about what's the one thing that you enjoy most about meetings and why, and what's the one thing you enjoy least about meetings and why. And think about it, jot a few notes down, and at the end we'll explore your thinking and some of the others in the group as well. For those who are on our learning platform and members, then we'll explore this in our learning platform, which is Discourse. Brilliant. So when we're doing these sessions live, what we'd normally do right now is actually go around the room and discuss people's one things and why, and see how we can explore those. So some facts and figures from some fairly credible sources. If you take leaders, typically half their time is spent in meetings. And I can imagine right now that's a hell of a lot more. You've got 60% of meetings have no clear agenda. 2/3 will finish typically before decisions have been made, and the vast majority of people confess to multitasking in meetings. And I'm sure when you look at these figures, you'll agree with them to a large extent. So we're going to take you through this EGSP framework, and this is central to everything that we do at 12 Scholars. And it's a simple model, it's a dynamic tool that'll help you not just set standards, but also raise performance. It's for simple words that's highly applicable not just to meetings or other environments at work, but also to your home life as well. And whether you're a new starter, middle manager, or senior exec, it'll help you and your team improve. So what is it? Well, we start off with POUR. And if you can imagine the Handforth Parish Council, that would be my definition of what POUR is. They're all the things that you're not prepared to accept. That toxic culture, the people talking over each other, people being rude, no clear agenda or deviating from the agenda. So there's lots of things in there which is POUR. But with EGSP, what we're looking at doing is actually defining those and writing those definitions of what POUR looks like. So the next up is satisfactory. And this is what you're prepared to accept as a minimum. So all the things that you're going to agree to achieve as that minimum, so that tick in the box. But there's a big difference between POUR and satisfactory. And in here, this is what I call the thick red line. So whether it's yourself, your team or your organisation, you need to be very clear on the differences between poor and satisfactory. And once you've done that, you say, right, we're not going to be this, we're going to achieve this as our minimum targets. Next up, we've got good, and this is what we're aiming to achieve. So day-to-day basis, we'll go into a meeting, and this is what we're wanting to achieve. But remember, you get what you're prepared to accept. So let's aim for good on a day-to-day basis. The top, the E, that stands for excellent, so EGSP. In meetings, it's perhaps less relevant because we want to be good enough to move on. And I don't know about you, but I haven't spent that much time in excellent meetings. They're typically good or satisfactory, but always wanting to improve. So I'm going to ask you now, it's another exercise. What do your meetings look like at the moment? And again, we're going to put 2 minutes on the clock and we're going to review it afterwards. So have a think about what do your meetings look like when it comes to E, G, S and P. Brilliant. So when we're running these in our Masterclass series, again, this is where we'll go around the room and then get people to share their E, G, S and Ps and discuss some findings. For our members, go onto the learning platform, put yourself on Discourse, create a new post and type in your thoughts and we'll see if we can help you there. But remember, when we're looking at meetings, the focus should really be on good, satisfactory and poor. And really the difference between satisfactory and poor and that thick red line. Because what we're looking for here is really that good enough to move on. We want to make the most of our time because time is precious. So that's where our attention should be. Now, once we've defined this EGSP and we're working at it on a regular basis, what you find is you'll actually create a culture shift. And especially if you've got your team on board and your organisation on board. And what was excellent becomes good, what was good becomes satisfactory, what was satisfactory becomes poor, and what we do is we have to redefine our expectations. And that's where you'll get this continuous step change improvement. So onto our leadership path, and here we're going to run through examples that will help you lead yourself, lead your team, and also lead your organisation. So an example here, how would you describe your skills when it comes to arriving at meetings on time? So I want you to think about E, G, S and P and what arriving at meetings means. So if you arrive at meeting on time, is that excellent? Would that be good? Would that be satisfactory? Or would actually be arriving at meeting on time, would you consider that to be poor? Because actually you're wanting to be there early. Now, everyone will have their own expectation, their own difference in here. So this is why it's really important for you to be clear on what it means to you, but then also to share that with others. So let's run through this as a worked example. Now, I think we'll all agree that poor would be arriving late to a meeting or not arriving at all. You're not sending your apologies. So satisfactory could be arriving at a meeting on time. That could be satisfactory. Now, good could be arriving at a meeting before you're required to, but also it could be getting yourself in that right frame of mind. So that could be good for you. And excellent, you're not just arriving at meeting on time, but you're well prepared, you've read all your case notes, you know exactly what to do, and you've done your homework, and you perhaps set other people's expectations before that meeting happens. So that could be what your EGSP looks to you. Let's look at another example now when it comes to leading your team. So how do you describe your team's skills when it comes to sticking to an agenda? Now, have a think about E, G, S and P and what that means to sticking to an agenda. So if we start at poor, that could be going off piste, kiboshing the agenda, not sticking to the agenda whatsoever. Satisfactory could be just sticking to that agenda and no more. That could be satisfactory. Good would be you've stuck to the agenda and you've perhaps been able to add a few other things in there as well. And excellent would be you've rattled through the agenda very quickly, you've achieved everything you wanted to do and you moved on. And that's been an excellent meeting as well. So we'll now look at another example with your organisation. So how would you describe, how do you rate your organisation's skills when it comes to decision making? So again, have a think about E, G, S and P and decision making within your organisation. Now, what you'll find is there's two aspects here that will help really understand that decision making process. Firstly, everybody needs to have all the right information going into a meeting or at the meeting. The second part is everybody needs to be singing from the same hymn sheet. You all need to be aligned to your North Star and have the right mission and vision at heart. Now, once you've got everybody singing off the same hymn sheet and everybody's got the right information, so that's the right information to the right people at the right time, that'll help you make better decisions. If you don't have any of that, then I'm afraid you'll be at poor all the time. So have a think about that and define what EGS&P looks like to you and your organisation. So we're now into remote working for a large part of the population. And here's a fairly recent survey just before COVID struck down about the top 3 challenges affecting productivity and remote working. And this survey looked at the top 3 challenges, and at the top was outcomes and engagement. So we've got unclear decisions, low participation in online meetings. There's no set clear agenda there. There's a lack of tools either preparing for meetings, during meetings, or actually following up on meetings. And also you've got the quality of remote working, whether that's audio, visual, or people's working environments, working from the kitchen tabletop or the laptop in the spare room. So there's a few challenges there that as a leader it's worthwhile considering. How can you be clearer on your outcomes? How can you help make your meetings more engaging? How do you get a clear agenda, and what sort of tools you're looking at as well as the working environment? So, a bit of a word of warning. A lot of time people are trying to get from A to B, and it's actually quite a large jump. They're trying to get from poor to good, or from satisfactory to excellent, and it's a large leap. And it's what I call binary expectations. You're trying to get from A to B, and it's perhaps too far. So what you need to do is break that down, and instead, what's the one thing you need to do just to move up a tier, to get from poor to satisfactory, or from satisfactory to good. And if you do that, you're looking at incremental improvements, or those tiny habits that will make a difference. So just something to think about there. How can you break it down? Rather than thinking of big things, think tiny. So moving on to the progress review, and for our members this is a fairly familiar process where we pull things together and leave you with an exercise that'll help you make an impact. So today is all about better meetings, and what I'd like you to do is just think about and reflect on a meeting that you'd like to improve, and just choose one meeting, and that could be the most frequent meeting you attend, or it could be a meeting that's most painful right now. It could be one that you're responsible for or accountable for, but just choose one meeting. And then think about one aspect within that meeting that you'd like to improve. So that could be timekeeping, it could be sticking to an agenda or decision making. It could be following up actions after the meeting, or better engagement and participation levels. It could be your preparedness for meetings that you'd like to improve. But just think about one aspect. And then think about E, G, S and P and what it means to you. So define those for this one aspect of this one meeting. And then review. Hold out the meeting, conduct it, and then reflect on it afterwards. Either do this yourself, you can do it in pairs or with your team. But when you do this over again and rinse and repeat, once you've done this a few times, what you'll find is you'll naturally improve your own performance. So it's a really simple exercise. It's very much over to yourself, but once you've gone through this, I guarantee you'll get better meetings. Now, one of the things at 12 Scholars, it's not just EGSP, we've also got some other tools and techniques that we use. Here's just a few of them. Some of them are on our website, some of them are on YouTube, but they're all available to our members on our learning platform. So that's just a few of them. If you'd like to join 12 Scholars, we've got 3 options available. The first one is all about leading you, and that's about personal development. The next one is about leading your team, and that's aimed at team leaders and team leadership skills. And then our third tier is all about leading organisations. And you don't need to be a chief exec to lead an organisation. Anybody can. It's all about those influencing skills. And that's what we'll work on. If you'd like any more information, visit the website 12scholars.com, and that's where you can actually join. So that's it. That's all I wanted to cover today in this masterclass for better meetings. Hopefully you got something from it, whether it's the practice and theory, the GSP, that leadership path, or the exercise that we've left you with right at the end. If you'd like to join 12 Scholars, visit the website. We've also got the weekly newsletter that you could subscribe to as well. But thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, tell somebody about us. I've really enjoyed putting this together. My name's Bob Buckley, and I look forward to seeing you next time.